Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. In this section, we'll share the essential flow of how social entrepreneurs change, from ideation to startup, from social mission to business sustainability, from local to regional, and so on. The first part of the conversation will be conducted in English, and it will be shifted to Cantonese in the second part. So please have your selected simultaneous interpretation as I channel ready. Without further ado, may I now invite Ms. Ada Wong, JP, Deputy Chair, Organizing Committee of Social Enterprise Summit, Hong Kong Convenor and Director of Good Lab Foundation, Hong Kong.
Hello, everyone. This is Ada Wong here. As the MC said, the first half of this session will be in English, and then the second half will be in Cantonese. 所以一定要留到最後啊，因為咧係有兩個好唔同嘅 session 嘅。So this thematic session is called transformation. It is not about my transformation, but it is about two young people's transformation. In the last 13 years, the Social Enterprise Summit has built a great network, and we have met many promising social entrepreneurs and young innovators. We have witnessed their journey, their successes, their happiness, and also their frustrations. I personally have given a lot of young people advice, and I have been their mentors. So when we were designing the program, we thought that we should have a session called Transformation to showcase some of our young social entrepreneurs and innovators in Hong Kong, and together with their mentors, and to talk to them to see how they have transformed in the last few years. If we are thinking about the future, and we believe that social entrepreneurship will bring about a better future for all of us. So I think these young people will play very important roles. Without further ado, let me introduce the first team. The first team includes a young man from Hong Kong, Andre Kwok. Hello, Andre, are you there?
Hi, Ada. Hello, everyone.
Hello, can we see your face sometime? So
yes.
The Zoom will show Andre. Andre actually is in Hong Kong, but he's in quarantine. So I'm glad that you're not next to me. Andre flew back from Singapore, where he was studying his MPA. He is our showcase of this session. So with Andre are two of his mentors. First is Dr. Let me try to pronounce her name very correctly. Dr. Wichuda Srivapai from Thailand. Dr. Wichuda is Chief Executive Officer of 1D Group Holdings in Thailand. Thank you very much for joining us. We are really pleased to have regional speakers in this session. And then there is also Mr. Shanmuga Retnam, Partner of Market Access and Regulatory Affairs, Vietnam, and also Special Advisor, Indochina, Fundación Metrópoli in Spain. So hello, Mr. Retnam. Thank you very much for joining. Let me start with asking all of you to briefly introduce your organizations. Andre, you have set up a platform called Future City Summit. So over to you first to introduce to us what it is.
Sure, thank you, Ada, and thank you so much, Wichuda, and also Vietnam joining us together. I'm Andre, I'm from Hong Kong. Future City Summit is a nonprofit organization we founded back in 2016 when I was still in the final year students in University of Hong Kong. So what we do is we bridge the public sector like city governments in Southeast Asia and emerging cities in Asia, and even now a little bit Africa, to the private sector, such as the tech community, tech entrepreneurs, and also private sector like corporate as well. We advocate the young leaders in both markets, both sectors, to foster public-private partnerships. So this is roughly what we do. We bridge, and also we hope to upbring more younger generations together.
Right, thank you, Andre. Over to Dr. Wichuda. Can you tell us a little bit about your organization?
Yes, I used to work in telecommunication industry as the business intelligence agency, and later on I have moved forward to look after my family business. So I'm taking over the culinary arts school and Wandi Culinary Technological College, which is the academic industry who support the vocational degree and up until bachelor degree in culinary arts. Besides that, I do interested in business entrepreneurship. That's the reason why I met Andre. So I start up another company called 1D Media Company and Media Tank. We have do a lot of entertainment TV show, and one of that is including Shark Tank Thailand. And later on, I'm looking after the another incubation center for university students, which we're going to talk more about that later.
Great. And Mr. Ratnam?
Hi, thank you, Ada. Thank you for the invitation, and good afternoon to Dr. Wichita and to Andre for inviting me to be part of your village. I have a very strange career path very quickly. I spent 25 years in the private sector. I'm out of Singapore, where I live. I live, and now I've relocated to Hanoi in Vietnam for the past 5 years. And after that, I was poached into the private sector, into the civil service. I worked for the Prime Minister's office to export Singapore's public sector capabilities. So it was I was on the wrong side of the highway, as far as most of my friends are concerned. Normally, you do public and private. So I did private and then public. And so from after while I was in the government, I conceptualized the World City Summit. And in order to, and that's where I really got to understand the dynamics of urban cities. And what brought me to Vietnam was actually first to open a rooftop bar, and also to establish a social enterprise. And the frustration of trying to help local governments, which I could not achieve very much while I was in government. And yeah, today I operate a very small trade advisory called MARA, stands for Market Access Regulatory Affairs. We focus on healthcare, smart urban planning, and facilitating business opportunities. Foundation Metropoli, which Ada mentioned, is really a global urban think tank based in Madrid, and we're currently researching the entire Red River Delta to create economic clusters within an area of 31 million inhabitants in the north part of Vietnam. And a quick pitch on a project which Andre is very involved in is in the e-forum for smart city development. And to address the gap of private sector participation in the deployment of smart city solutions within Vietnam, I convinced both private sector and government to create a platform called e-forum for smart city development, which we articulated at the recent ASEAN Smart City Network meeting in Hanoi. So that's a quick spill about myself.
Right, thank you, Ratnam. Back to you, Andre. My first question to you is, when I look at you, I see a village behind you. You know, people used to say, oh, it takes a village to raise a child. But, you know, when I see you, Andre, I think you have a big village behind you, and they comprise many people in Asia, all across Asia. They have supported you, and they have helped you in many ways. And you have specifically picked Dr. Wichuda and Mr. Ratnam to join us today. So first, tell us, you know, a little bit about how you met them, and how did they inspire you?
Sure, Ada. I think we met both Wichuda and Vietnam along my very early journey or mid journey of my entrepreneurship in Southeast Asia. So yes, my social entrepreneurship was born in Southeast Asia, even though I'm a Hong Kong guy. Wichuda is a source of inspiration for me to learn more about Thai market, Thai community and culture. And I definitely have to say I miss the food prepared by Wichuda in when we met every time. And so I met Wichuda first of all during one of our projects in Thailand. We were delivering a program in a co-working space, and Wichuda was one of our speakers. So we happened to sit down together and talk about what's more to do in Thailand, and so happened to learn more about the work behind Wichuda, and also her vision as a woman entrepreneur, woman social entrepreneur, also as a great figure that many Thai young generations, and even I would say Hong Kong and Southeast Asian business corporate sector can learn from as well. So we met in Thailand, and we are also planning work together and also have a lot of conversations moving forward. Vietnam, we met in a third community, which is we didn't meet in Hong Kong, we didn't meet in Vietnam, we met actually in Singapore during one of the forum that we prepare and collaborate, which is a urban innovation forum in Singapore that we have also Vietnam as one of our speakers. So happen we also talk about how to engage more private sector, because I think this is also one of the conversation in social enterprise summit, that how corporate, how conventional SMEs and private sector engage with not just public sector like social enterprises or so on, but also in the more national or city scale urban planning. This is another sort of movement, how second tier city, third tier cities move along while the city planning time planners are working on their way to plan a better community, but how local private sectors, SMEs engage, not just tech startups engaging, but SMEs, corporates engaging at the end. So it's a very fascinating and attractive conversation. So that lead to many more at the end. And like Vietnam said, the e-forum is part of the sections project that we engage a lot. And spinning off from there, we have a lot of conversation about cities in Southeast Asia, the learnings.
Okay, the same question to Dr. Wichuda in Vietnam. When you first met Andre, young guy from Hong Kong, what you have, what's on your mind? Because usually, speaking from, knowing quite a lot of young people in Hong Kong, I think most young people, if they are concerned about social issues, environmental issues, and they want to start a social enterprise, they will use Hong Kong as a base. But Andre, when he was a university student, he wanted to do something regional, and that's quite unique for me. So perhaps Vietnam first. How do you think of Andre back then?
Well, like I guess it's a case of perception, right? I think as a young person and now as a young aspiring executive, I wasn't as bold as Andre. Firstly, to take on a project of that magnitude of what he's done, and I think it's always a lot of disadvantages when you're young and you don't have that the credentials, the network, and the village, right? And we call it kampong. It's a Singlish word. And as Andre mentioned, we jointly organized the Urban Innovation Forum in Singapore, and that by itself brought together a diverse community of people from Korea, from Vietnam, from Singapore, and Bangladesh, and it was very inspiring for me to see how this group of very young people were actually on the ground doing implementable projects, and that's something that really, I mean, as I've when I was in public policy, there's always a lot of discussions at 30,000 feet, and you need to bring things to 300 feet. And Andre and his team impressed me with that ability to bring it down to reality. And the things I think which strike me, which Andre is what has done and is doing, is the ability to form that regional network, as you said. I mean, that regional network and to develop a regional strategy. And something that I always look for, and I think partly I'm not as distinguished as yourself, Ada and Dr. Wichida, and so I'm very humbled that I've been invited to be part of Andre's ecosystem or village. And I've always realized networking is exceptionally important, and Andre has been able to do that extensively. And I've seen that in life, and every time I connect him with someone, he follows through quickly, and he then dives deep and understands. So yeah.
Right. So in addition to high-level conversations and having a big network, Andre and his team was able to bring things to the ground and perhaps even connect different young people to have deal flows. I understand that's what Andre really wants to do, to collaborate with public sector, private sector in enabling many projects that are probably concerned with sustainability or other different issues. How about you, Dr. Wichuda? What did you think of Andre when you first met him?
I met him the first time in Thailand, like what he mentioned. I went there on behalf of Shark Tank Thailand, which is it is the show that focused on capitalism, right? So I haven't focused much, and even investors haven't focused much about social enterprise. But once I talked to Andre, something has changed. It changed me a lot to look into more detail about even in Thailand itself. I have done a lot of projects for village people, but I haven't think of a way to broaden them into more for social enterprise. And when I talked to Andre, and we been through a lot of projects and try to come up with some innovative thing. And he's the one who brought me up new idea and very innovative way of working with social enterprise, especially for me, myself personally, to have bigger perspective to bring social enterprise to Thailand. And we come across with some projects. And later on, when we want to make it more global, surprised to me that everybody in the region fully support him on any matters that we try to accomplish. So this is a very positive approach that I think that having this social enterprise and social responsibility mindset is such a good and wonderful start for people who want to become entrepreneurship, not only focus on capitalism, but focus more on the social responsibilities and make them as social enterprise. And Andre is the one that brought me that idea. Thank you.
That's amazing.
Yes.
So you mutually inspire each other. So at this point, I want to remind our audience. They're mostly from Hong Kong, but I can still see a few names from all over Asia. Do field your questions to us, to the team here with Andre, the young social innovator, and also his mentors. Perhaps we can look to the future, Andre. We are in COVID-19 stage, and hopefully next year, 2021, we can have the virus contained. So we look at collaborations in Asia and how you could facilitate young people in Asia to respond to the various changes and the new normal that we see in the post-pandemic era. What do you think young people can do?
I will echo a little bit first of all what Vietnam and Wichuda have mentioned, and also a little bit that Ada, you have taught me along the way in my very early time. I mean, working on the ground is something that even not just my mentor here, everyone has taught me, but also my mom, that at the end of the day, it's just all about how much you have done. Nothing much about making profit or money. I mean, this is important, but also nothing much about making fame. At the end of the day, what new values you are delivering to the ground. And I think the definition of the ground is very different. To many people, or to certain people, the ground is very high level. It is good enough just on the blueprint, on the paper. But to many people as well, that the ground is not just on the paper, but in their real life. My social entrepreneurship happened in a village, the real village, when I was still in Cambodia during my gap year. So it is all about, at the end, when you see with your real eyes, you witness the problems there and also the difficulties there, how people live there, and you figure out what exact things you should do so that you really understand the people, understand the scenarios there. And sometimes it's not just about doing that thing, but not doing that thing also matters. So I think that sort of learnings and the understanding behaviors, understanding the matters and issues have prepared me a lot on when it comes to collaborating and also talking and also interacting with other partners and also other seniors friends. Looking at the future, I think that would be very challenging because everyone is talking about new normal, or even some people talk about the next normal. The next normal, the big term nowadays is digitalization. So everything is going digital, like the summit is going digital, a little bit hybrid. Then it is still very easy relatively to go digital with right to stable internet to certain community, like those people in the town, in the metro area, urbanized area, people can get on the internet, they can still work together. So those people in those areas can keep thinking and also figuring out the next industry, the next market, or the next profitability, which is, for example, e-commerce, digital finance, or many other things digitally. But to many even more populations or many other communities, they do not have those luxuries. So I'm meaning about those people in the suburban area, provinces, and the rural area. While we have the luxury, understanding, learning all about social entrepreneurship in 2020 through the hybrid virtual Hong Kong Social Enterprise Summit. On the other hand, our friends in the Philippines are suffering a lot because of the typhoons for 2 weeks that no one can easily access to the internet. And many other companies have to get their hands off and prepare rescue material, relief packages for their families in the provinces. So I think the next novel will be very challenging because the disasters is very close to us. And that is something that simply digitalization cannot single-hand address. So I would say, again, this is very challenging, but at the same time, very much depending on a closer collaborations from the resources and also from the wisdom that the last generation and the current generations have produced in the past decades. And also, it also relies on innovations that the next generations can innovate together, get their hands dirty and go to the ground together and get things done.
Thank you, Andre. Probably a final question as we're running out of time to Dr. Wichuda in Vietnam, and also on the new normal. I see a platform like the Future City Summit as more than a platform for meetings, for conferences. Although, Andre, I know that you love organizing summits and meetings, but it's more. So with the network and with the internet and with the big cohort of young people around Asia, you can do more to solve problems. So I'm wondering whether Vietnam and Dr. Wichuda have any insights for you. In the post-pandemic new normal, how could a platform like the Future City Summit can make a difference? How can it do more to impact what will happen in Asia? Maybe Dr. Wichuda first.
I think since we have already collaborated with Future City Summit, we have set up Good City Foundation here in Thailand. And on top of that, we have done, we have got the certification. We are the certified incubation center from the government to build up the community from university students and high school and vocational degree students. But again, everything are ready for them. The most important is the self-realization for the students. They need to be aware and self-awareness about their own sustainability and innovation. So working together with Andre and make the project of entrepreneurship with our students can bring a lot more global, so that we can bring more technology, more innovation to help sustain the technology and innovative way of working. So,
right, thank you. Mr. Ratnam.
Well, I think we've got lots of youth listening to us and will be listening to this session. And like Andre, and most cities are seeking not only the know-how, but also the how-to. So youth have the tenacity and the open-mindedness to help cities to reconceive the new models. And I'd just like to mention this. I don't know if you can see this on my phone, but use, sorry, I'll get that. Yeah, use new power to help the least powerful. And which really—
this is the quote from the New Power guys this morning as well.
Which And Andre mentioned about not doing anything. And so Future City Summit has created a platform to jointly develop pilot projects because knowledge can be shared quickly cross-border. And that's how the youth can collaborate and especially take inspirations from projects like the Bali Impact, which the Future City Summit and Good City Foundation has done in Indonesia on the bamboo economy, which I use repeatedly in my discussions with entrepreneurs. That's one such innovation that is exportable, and I'm always very keen to look at to use such models and to help youth be able to implement similar models in their respective country, which have a different environment. Every country is different, and every city is different, and every town is different. And so, harnessing the power of youth is really where Asian cities and Asian youth can come together.
Right. I think a question has come in, but before. Yes, okay. This is a good question for Andre to answer and to wrap up. What sort of opportunities are available for youth in Asia? Do you see more new power within Asia or globally? Andre, I also want you to think about, what sort of message would you give to young people from Hong Kong like you? As you know, your friends and your classmates might have been, they want a base in Hong Kong, they want a job in Hong Kong, and they feel very happy, living in Hong Kong and maybe contributing to Hong Kong. There's nothing wrong with that, but how could you send them a message that having this regional perspective is also very important for a young person? So this last question to you, the opportunities in Asia, and what kind of message would you leave for our younger generation?
Thank you. I think very quickly to answer. First of all, I have also shared similar message during the last week in the Green Pact anniversary that I think globally and Asia-wide, I think the cycle or the layers of the youth and a little bit older generations, I mean the cross generations collaboration is actually highly compressed right now. Again, we don't have to sit in a corporate for 10 years and then we speak to the senior. Now the world is very flattened that different generations come together. So out of these nature of collaborations and the network nature, transparency and also time taking to understand each other, patience, other qualities or other attributes of the future that I believe we need to have. I mean, besides the future skills such as tech or programming or engineering, I think the personalities that shape the future are highly important. I think Hong Kong, the next generations, or even our friends our peers in Hong Kong, definitely have the capability and the patience to do that. The opportunities to sort of redefine for us together in Asia is very wide. One very big understanding to properly we have to foresee is the pandemic basically, or even the post-pandemic consequences is cities would be quite easily got divided. What I mean by that is the people move around the cities and the provinces in Asia because of COVID-19. Workers move back to the provinces, and many emerging cities, many provinces suddenly have a lot of people, especially young workforce, students. They cannot afford to stay in the capital cities anymore. They move back. And back in Hong Kong, similar concept happened that we do not need a central business district anymore because everyone now quite easily work from home. The concept of CBD is fading away, I believe. So I think the concept of having based on this migrations, mobility, and also based on the digital connectivity, one opportunity is how to address local challenges, not just maybe in Hong Kong, but also in the provinces, and then it take understanding to address. And the second would be how these cluster populations and community reconnect. And it's not just about for the youth, but also for all generations.
Right. Very nice. Thank you very much. And with that, I think our time is up for this team with the regional perspective. And here I would like to thank Andre and Mr. Retnam and also Dr. Wichuda. Thank you so much for participating. You're most welcome to stay online, but and also to use our simultaneous translation for the second half of this session. Thank you very much. OK， 咁咧，我而家又要轉一轉咧。Thank you so much。轉一轉台，咁咧就邀請咧我哋下一節嘅一位年輕嘅社創工作者啦，社會創新嘅朋友啦。咁我哋都叫佢做丁丁嘅，但係佢真名叫葉曉慧嘅。咁啊，丁丁你坐過嚟先啦。佢都嚟到我哋呢個 live broadcast 嘅現場嘅。咁啊，丁丁咧係丁丁嗰兩位mentors 喺邊度咧？未見到佢哋喎，喺個鏡頭度。丁丁有兩位 mentors 咧，都喺呢個 session 度同我哋一齊傾偈。咁佢哋分別係歐麗莊啦，同埋譚德宇 Trevor 嘅。Hello 麗莊 ，Hello Trevor， 多謝你哋參加。咁咧，我哋而家咧就開始要介紹丁丁先。咁咧就佢係主角啊嘛，喺呢個 session。咁丁丁咧，佢係幾多年前啊？喺呢個香港呢個社會企業挑戰賽咧，就係你仲係讀緊書嘅應該。咁咧就喺社企挑戰賽咧就贏咗個獎。咁我喺嗰個場合咧就認識你嘅。咁然後跟住咧，我就見到咧呢位年輕嘅朋友咧，其實係真係好勤力，好似牛咁樣係做好多嘢。然後跟住咧係當好多年輕人都放棄咗嘅時候咧，其實喺 SEC 出嚟嘅年輕人咧，其實好多人係真係放棄嘅，即係完成咗第一階段嘅創業咧就唔做㗎啦。咁但係丁丁就唔同喎，佢咧就繼續做落去。佢個社企叫做理想主義。咁所以咧而家一開始咧，我不如請丁丁咧去介紹一下，用大概3至4個 slide 介紹下理想主義咧係做乜嘢嘅。
好啊，唔該 Ada。好，咁正如啱啱 Ada 所講啦，我都係大學畢業嘅時候參加社企比賽開始嘅。嗰陣時 Ada 仲係評判嚟咁樣，咁我去贏咗小種子基金就開始呢間嘅社企啦。嗱，可以下一張。咁嗰陣時其實最主要咧，我係觀察到有啲嘅家庭主婦有好多年家庭煮食嘅經驗啦。咁但係社會上冇乜平台俾佢哋發揮，佢哋都好難揾到相應合適嘅工作機會。咁所以我哋就希望成立呢間嘅社企啦，俾佢哋去釋放佢哋嘅才能等等嘅。咁最開頭嘅時候咧，咁我哋嗰個諗法就係從住家送盒去出發，即係一啲洗咗、切咗、醃咗嘅一啲嘅住家即煮嘅送盒咁樣。咁去到後面咧，我哋下一張咁咧都有唔同嘅服務啦。咁至今經營大約3、4年左右，係啦，都可以下一張，可以俾大家睇下咧，都有啲唔同婦女嘅拿手嘅住家菜。咁我哋希望咧就係將呢啲即係本來咧會流失咗喺個社區入面嘅煮食智慧，將佢保留起嚟，將佢轉化成為一啲咧又有商業價值，亦都有社會價值嘅一啲產品同服務。咁呢個就係大致理想主義做嘅嘢啦。咁其實喺個名啊，喺個構思入面都係好印證咗我由理想主義，即係講緊 idealism 嗰個轉化嘅過程，去到慢慢呢3、4年一路摸索、一路跌、一路經營，去學習嘅一個歷程咯。
好，唔該晒。咁我哋停咗呢一個 share 先。咁因為我都想見到麗莊同埋 Trevor 嘅樣。係啦，咁我諗我第一個問題問丁丁先啦。呢個問題就係咁嘅。其實我自己嘅觀察咧，就係理想主義咧，一直以嚟咧都係好小規模咁樣去發展。其實好有意義嘅。第一，你係揾到一啲嘅婦女啦，佢哋係真係有一啲嘅廚藝，咁咧佢哋又可以幫你去做啲餸包。喺另外一方面咧，你又見到係有一啲嘅 OL 啦，係返工嘅女性咧，佢哋真係超級想係食住家菜。咁於是咧就係透過網上嘅平台咧係聯繫咗呢班人啦。咁你咧就要去做好呢啲餸包，然後跟住要送去佢哋屋企。但係我發覺你一直都係即係好平穩嘅發展啦。但係直到今年咧，其實係有啲突破。但係呢個突破亦都係帶嚟一啲嘅樽頸。咁不如你由呢度起講下。
唔該 Ada。我諗喺嗰個發展嘅過程之所以點解咁平穩咧，咁都係因為我哋其實沿路咧一路去摸索啦，一路有好多嘢，特別係年輕人咁，其實初出茅廬咧，我哋學習咗少少關於社企嘅一啲理念啊、知識啦，或者一啲創業嘅一啲基本嘅框架，咁我哋其實係赤手空拳咁樣就自己一步一步去試咯，所以有好多位可能係試錯啦，或者有好多位其實要好多摸索同學習嘅時間，咁所以嗰個歷程咧會比較慢啲，咁但係同時間我哋都一路喺度學習吸收啊等等咯。咁去到今年其實啱啱疫情爆發嘅時候咧，我哋係有個 happy problem 嘅，咁咧就係其實都有趣嘅，因為香港人平時其實好忙啦，未必有好多時間去煮飯咁樣。咁直到去疫情爆發，好多人 work from home 咧，咁佢哋會多咗好多時間可以喺屋企同屋企人一齊煮飯一齊食啊咁樣。咁所以我哋生意都有增長啦，同埋都睇到個樽頸啊，就係當我哋由草創，即係真係自己一手一腳去試，去到初創，慢慢如果真係想發展成一間 enterprise 社會企業都係一間 enterprise 嘅時候，咁我哋有好多嘢要去學咯。
好，我其實頭先未正式介紹Lai-Chong同 Trevor， 因為咧認識咗佢哋都一段日子啦，好似 Hi Trevor、Hi Lai-Chong 咁。要正式介紹嘅歐Lai-Chong咧係香港與澳門滙業財經集團副首席執行官啦，而咧係 Trevor 咧係譚德宇啦，係香港 Z Solution Limited 嘅創辦人。嗱，不如你哋講下你哋自己係作為金融嘅背景啊，你哋機構其實係做乜嘢嘅？點解會好樂意咁樣去我唔知咁講啱唔啱，做好似係做理想主義嘅顧問啦，又或者係做 mentor 啦，即係叮叮嘅 mentor 啦。咁 mentor 一定係啦，亦師亦友啦。咁係有啲咩係 connect 咗你哋兩位係同叮叮一齊嘅咧？咁不如Lai-Chong先啦。
好啊，唔該晒你 Ada， 或者我簡單介紹下自己啦。咁多謝 Ada 介紹我哋同叮叮認識啦。首先，咁其實我已經喺 finance 金融行業都有差不多20年經驗。咁其實而家我近呢4年翻去滙業財經集團，其實係我哋一個家族嘅生意嚟嘅。咁因為其實一路以嚟我都有好多唔同嘅 mentors 或者董事們幫我去建立我呢個 career。咁in terms 我都覺得其實我學到嘅嘢，我都好想去幫翻去其他人，幫佢哋作為一個企業可以點樣成長啊，可以做好一個管理人啦。咁另外，其實我一路都覺得作為一間企業唔應該淨係以商業掛帥嘅，賺錢當然好重要。咁但係另外一樣嘢係更加希望會有個 social impact 啦。咁我哋見到嘅叮叮咁理想主義，咁係一門生意，亦都係一個好有理念嘅商業模式啦。咁好，我希望用我同 Trevor 嘅經驗，可以幫到佢，可以令到更多人受惠咯。
好 ，Trevor。
首先多謝 Ada 俾呢個機會我同參與呢個chat 啦。咁我諗我介紹我少少啦，就係其實我喺呢個投資銀行做咗20幾年啦。咁我係一個我叫做自己係一個營運嘅專家，即係我係負責一間投資銀行嘅好多嘅運作上邊嘅需求。咁我啱啱大約係18個月前，我離開咗我係做咗20幾年嘅公司之後咧，就自己創業。咁我都知道創業嘅困難。咁而我自己嘅創業就係都係做翻一啲我自己本行啦，即係一個我叫營運嘅 consultancy 啦。咁但係我諗 along the line with 阿Lai-Chong講嘅就係我哋睇到叮叮，當我哋初接觸嗰陣時，我見到佢好有理想。咁但係最主要就係我感受到佢嗰種困難啊，因為我諗好多時當由一個小型企業，即係2-3個人，我叫做 one man band、two man band， 跟住轉到去一個比較大啲嘅小規模公司嗰陣時，其實係好多呢個技巧啦、好多概念啦，同埋好多哲學啦，其實都需要去學習同認識嘅。咁我諗我同Lai-Chong嘅出發點就係我哋嘗試俾一啲可能 crash course 啊，即係一啲快速嘅雞精班俾佢啊，變咗咧等佢可以加速成長啦。
唔知道3位願唔願意傾下咧？即係你哋當時第一次見面啦。咁我相信咧，叮叮咧係我有份介紹嘅，但係咧佢哋點見面咧？其實咧係即係咩都唔包噶嘛，係咪？又唔知道阿Lai-Chong同 Trevor 會唔會中意阿叮叮噶嘛？咁所以咧就第一次見完面啦。咁你哋聽到咧理想主義嗰個營運模式， 又知道佢有一個樽頸位，你當時係點樣去診斷咧？其實理想主義咧，佢作為一個小型企業啦嚇，即係社會企業都係一個企業嚟嘅。呢個小型企業咧，其實佢嘅機會喺邊度啦，同埋佢嘅挑戰又係如何啦？係咪真係要做一個 SWOT 咁樣啊？定係有啲咩診斷咧？我諗呢啲都唔係商業秘密嚟嘅，係嘛？可唔可以講下你當時係點樣診斷理想主義嘅咧？
係咗。
係啊。
我記得我哋第一次見面，係應該喺個 coffee shop 入邊嘅。咁樣我哋阿丁丁咧同我介紹佢理想主義嘅生意啦。咁當然我諗，如果我記得，其實我當然第一次吸引到，覺得係可以繼續同行，或者我哋可以繼續傾偈嘅。咁我哋首先好似頭先咁講，丁丁係一個好有理想嘅女仔啦。咁咧亦都見到佢嘅困難。咁坦白講，亦都因為疫情嘅關係，見到佢生意好咗。咁我同阿 Travel 都有少少半講笑半講真咁話。喂，如果係得2個人都可以做到咁好成績，我哋好似頭先話有個雞精班，肯定個生意可以3倍4倍咁上，應該唔難嘅。咁所以我哋話諗住見到佢幾次咁就應該冇問題㗎啦。咁但係一路認識以嚟，咁我哋都發覺認識咗阿丁丁，再加埋佢團隊阿優啊等等，咁我哋亦都發覺，咦佢原來有大小嘅問題，咁亦都我哋其實亦都另外一方面係我哋嘅學習咯。咁我哋覺得係非常之有趣嘅經驗同一個好好嘅 journey 咯。
我唔透露嗰啲係咩問題啊 ，Trevor？
我諗我補充少少啦，其實咧好有趣嘅。咁你知道我而家我自己嘅創業都係一間好大，即係我另外我而家我自己私人客戶係一間好大嘅公司，我都做緊差唔多提供類似嘅意見俾阿丁丁嘅一樣。咁嗰個當然收錢嘅，但係咧嗰個咧就係一個好大型嘅企業。咁發覺其實咧基本上無論小型企業或者大型企業都好啦，我發覺佢哋喺個營運上邊咧都有一啲嘅困難啊，譬如點樣係請人嗰個模式啊，或者係當擴充嗰陣時點樣分工啊，個分工個合作點樣能夠做得細緻啊，甚至乎係你個產品嗰陣時，我哋有冇花時間去做一個我叫做 R&D 啊 research and development 啊，咁呢啲都係其實可能喺小型企業更加冇考慮嘅。咁但係當我哋能夠將呢啲所有嘅商業理論同埋甚至乎執行同阿丁丁分享嗰時咧，我覺得丁丁同阿 Yo 咧，即係佢嘅 partner 咧，都係能夠好好咁去實習、去實踐，同埋我哋一齊去同行。咁呢個變咗係好鼓舞咯。
丁丁，你喺大學係讀咩㗎？
我當時係讀社會學，咁咧我就再輔修管理學，有時就講笑。
Okay. 咦，咁管理學都唔知有冇包埋，即係點樣創業嘅咧？可能冇係嘛？但係咧就有趣嘅咧就係你又選擇咗創業喎。譬如頭先阿 Trevor 講啦，又點樣請人啊，點樣分工啊，其實都係講嘅好多即係營商營運嘅一啲好 basic 嘅一啲嘅嘢嚟嘅。你自己會唔會覺得佢哋兩個都好似講緊星球話咁啊？定係你係即係明嘅，然後跟住咧你就跟住佢哋嘅 advice 啦。咁咧而家就係一步一步咁係作出一啲改變嘅。
我諗喺嗰個沿途嘅 journey，我哋第一次喺 coffee shop 度見面啦。咁又後面我哋就上嚟工場，上嚟 office，我哋每一次再溝通多啲，可能係我哋遇到嘅一啲困難，或者係我哋去 execute 咗某啲嘢啦。我哋嘗試 review 翻我哋做咗一啲 results 其實係點樣。Along the way，其實我諗我哋亦都冇覺得我哋嚟自唔同星球，應該話係越溝通得多，其實我諗我哋嗰個發現我哋個理念或者我哋想做嘅嘢，其實都係好相似，即係純粹可能我哋個 background 會有啲唔同啊等等，或者應該話我同阿 Yo 即係我哋自己 founding member 之間咧，我哋個都係希望咧就係社會企業，我哋兩邊都要有，即係兩個嘅理念同埋哲學，我哋都希望吸收融會貫通，因為呢個係應該要係個未來嚟嘅咁樣。
好啊，想問翻阿 Trevor 或者阿麗莊咧。我諗你都睇到咧，近年嚟咧，確實有多咗年輕人咧係選擇咗創業嘅道路嘅。但係香港咧好多時咧，我哋就話其實都冇一啲嘅 conditions 啊，一啲嘅外在嘅一啲嘅條件啦，係真係能夠係有一個好蓬勃嘅一個創業嘅環境。大家如果比較下啦，即係唔好淨係講社會企業，譬如講科技嘅創業咧。 係如果睇翻矽谷啊咁咧，你會睇到有資金啦，亦都會有培訓啦，亦都係有好多嘅叫 idea jam 啊，又會有好 hackathon 啊，係有好多人咧。你有 idea 咧，啲人咧就會係眼閃閃就話，講俾我聽，講俾我聽。然後跟住嗰啲天使基金咧就走嚟咧，又會去投資落你身上。始終香港咧係真係冇一個咁樣嘅環境啦。特別係社會企業、社會創業。我相信而家係有啦，有一啲嘅 program， 譬如 SIE 分啦，譬如 Good Seed 啊，或者係社聯亦都有 program 啊咁。但係始終 program 還 program， 我其實頭先聽嚟聽去最有興趣嘅咧就係、其實 program 之後咧，你創業嘅過程係要有 mentoring， 要有亦師亦友去幫手，亦都需要可能唔同嘅雞精班。你哋自己如果淨係睇叮叮嘅經驗，或者係再睇下你哋個大環境度，你哋認識嘅一啲年輕人咧，你覺得而家香港創業咧最需要邊方面嘅支援？
不如我講先啦。我諗兩樣嘢啦，我睇到第一樣嘢就係當嗰個毅力啊，我諗個 resilience 好緊要，因為一開始嗰陣時其實係困難嘅，咁要堅持，同埋喺個創立嗰陣時嗰個我叫做個 model， 起碼係你會睇到係有個市場嘅，唔係做咗個產品你覺得有市場，而你知道嗰個產品係有市場，即係始終一個企業啦。我諗第二樣嘢就係我反而會同其他人分享嘅就係當去揾一個投資者或者去揾一個 mentor 嗰陣時，我哋反而睇到，我同Lai-Chong特別睇到嘅就係我哋唔係淨係我叫做一次性、兩次性，而係一個長期嘅我叫做長期嘅夥伴關係，係咪？因為唔係即係我諗丁丁都知道，我哋係每個禮拜都見面嘅，我哋係每個禮拜都傾翻上個禮拜嘅事嘅，即係我覺得呢個係好重要，係嗰種投入，一齊嘅投入，咁先至能夠一路向前走咯。
呢種嘅 resilience 同埋投入咧，有冇得學㗎？Lai-Chong？
我諗其實最緊要係個 mentor 同埋個 mentees，或者我哋作為一個 partner 點樣一齊同行，要有一個同樣嘅理念啦。咁我諗如果我哋方向都唔同嘅，其實就好難一齊去同行嘅。咁反而我覺得 resilience 係有時係大家一個關係嘅 improvement 咯。咁但係我諗頭先去翻 Ada 嘅問題，我會覺得去翻大家會諗係究竟乜嘢叫做社企咯？究竟係 focus 喺社會嗰邊啦，定係企業嗰邊啦？咁因為我會見到好多年青人好有理想，咁但係因為再好似頭先丁丁咁講啦，咁我哋都係一個 enterprise 嚟㗎嘛，點樣 grow？咁我會覺得即係就好似我同 Trevor 咁，我哋都希望將一個企業可以去擴大，咁我哋可以一齊建立一個 platform， 一個社區，咁我哋可以互相支持咯。
我見到有一個問題啊，咁我喺呢度咧都呼籲咧，係各位即係喺 Zoom 上邊嘅朋友咧，你哋係可以喺個 chat 嗰度咧係打上你個問題咧，咁我一定會讀出嚟嘅。如果唔夠時間咧，我都逼到阿丁丁有時間去答為試下。咁呢個問題係要丁丁答嘅，咁丁丁你睇到啦，咁不如讀一讀先。點解當其他嘅創業者啦，我諗係年輕啲嘅創業者啦，完成創業階段之後離場咧，丁丁仍然繼續做呢個小小嘅生意咧，又丁丁又少少咁，好似好急咁樣。
我諗我身邊都有啲觀察嘅，咁即係譬如一齊玩比賽嘅，或者有啲朋友佢創業，咁後尾可能都冇再做啦。咁我相信都唔係佢哋自己想去放棄，一開頭開始嘅時候都冇諗過放棄，或者冇諗過可以發展去咩程度嘅。咁我都係一樣啦。我諗我點解一路堅持係因為我睇到，其實有個 market potential。客人話俾我知佢需要呢樣產品，婦女話俾我知，呢樣嘢改變咗我嘅事業而家先開始。我睇到嗰個唔單止係社會意義，亦都有個商業嘅價值喺度，係好值得去堅持。咁純粹我遇到個樽頸就係，我唔識點樣去擴大。譬如我要將佢組織化，開始要擴大去提升嘅時候，我應該點做？咁所以我就喺嗰個階段，我就一路尋求揾唔同嘅 mentor 啊，尋求好多前輩嘅意見啊。希望係可以將理想主義再推去下一個階段咁樣。
咁而家識未咧？而家即係其實 scaling 啦，即係擴充啊，係再長大咧，其實最難個階段嚟嘅。咁我自己係咁意咧，都係跟過好多嘅年輕人創業，或者唔單止年輕人啦。我知道有一啲朋友咧，即係50幾60歲，佢提早退休咧，佢又想去創辦個社企。咁但係往往咧， 其實第一階段咧，永遠好似係蜜月期咁樣啦，係做咗少成績啦，但係跟住落去咧就好似停滯不前啦。咁咧就唔知點樣繼續咧 grow 係咁嘅，一個 curve 咁樣 grow 嘅。咁而家阿丁丁啦，你睇到咁樣未？
呢個我哋最近咧都喺度做緊一啲 recruitment，希望擴大個團隊啊咁樣。咁我諗喺嗰個過程我都睇到，其實有好多嘢我哋又要學習啲新嘅嘢啦，即係過往嘅創業歷程入面係冇經歷到嘅。咁之後都預示到有好多嘢需要學習。咁至於我做到未咧，或者去到咩階段咧，咁樣可能都要睇下大家咁繼續見證下啦，或者係 Trevor 麗莊，即係我哋亦都可以一齊去 review 一下咁樣。
喂 Trevor 麗莊啊，即係話時話咧，理想主義咧係一個講食物嘅社企啦。香港咧其實最不缺嘅就係食物。咁啊，疫症期間咧，其實亦都有好多嘅外賣嘅服務，其實係大至5星級酒店，以至到茶餐廳都有外賣。咁啊，亦都咧係即係好容易去做嘅。咁但係丁丁咧就係少做熟食嘅，佢寧願咧係個肉餅咧應該都係切好剁好，然後冰咗佢，然後跟住就送到去個客戶嘅屋企。你覺得呢樣嘢係咪真係 work 咧？即係咪大家慣咗係即係嗰幾個字啦，有熊貓牌啊，有即係嗰啲 delivery 有袋鼠牌。咁啊，其實係嗰啲係咪應該係仲快捷啲咧？咁即係喺呢個 business opportunity，即係一個人嘅需要都要建基於人嘅需要噶嘛？你哋會點樣分析呢件事？
我諗我作為丁丁都係其中一個 target 嘅客人類別咧，咁我會覺得其實真係有時喺出街食飯食得厭咧，咁你自己煮下飯都係一個好有嘅需求嘅，同埋始終我哋香港人，尤其是職業女性啊，或者職業家庭好多都要去，即係要越嚟越注重健康嗰一面啦。咁所以其實我哋睇到送包係其實好有市場嘅。咁當然你話將來我哋可唔可以做熟食啊，或者其他更加多嘅嘢，咁我哋就會繼續同丁丁一齊去發掘啦。
咁但係你自己有冇係佢嘅客戶啊？你有冇係定時 order， 定係你有第啲方法去 check 下佢究竟嗰啲送包咧，其實個質素係點樣嘅？
其實咧質素嗰度咧，而家我哋都係同佢一齊傾緊嘅。咁我哋咧即係一齊研究緊啲 R&D 啦。咁另外咁我哋都有唔係丁丁啦，咁但係阿丁丁嘅同事們咧都有煮過佢哋啲送包俾我哋食嘅。
同埋我哋之前咧，
我哋做預備會議嘅時候，你好似講過俾我聽咧，其實你係自己冇試過喎，咁點得㗎？
唔係，其實咧我哋有去個工場度食嘢嘅，不過咧另外咧我費事佢哋嘅同團隊咧認得我哋個名，所以咧我哋揾咗咧幾個咧秘密顧客咧 secret 呢個client 咧去試去 order 佢哋1個月嘅月票，攞到好多 feedback， 其實我哋都會咁樣去同佢分享，因為有唔同嘅人。咁同埋我哋都會當，可能我哋兩個都係有可能會多啲主觀性啦。咁變咗我哋就其實有另外嘅方法咧去測試佢哋嘅產品嘅。
好犀利喎！秘密顧客，你一直都唔知嘅，丁丁啊。嗱，睇下先，我哋有另外一題問題嘅，咁即係用英文寫。Your focus so far has been on the younger generation. How about senior citizens who have experience in business, more money and connections? What's your advice for them? 呢個可能係要問阿麗莊同埋 Trevor 嘅喎。你哋係咪淨係俾一啲 advice 俾年輕人咧？如果真係有啲人即係叫做年紀大啲啦，我哋叫做新青年啦、新中年啊咁樣，即係佢哋都想創業嘅，你會唔會俾 advice 咧？咁 Trevor 會唔會啊？
其實唔會分年紀嘅，我自己都仲開始我嘅新嘅事業，所以我諗係一視同仁嘅。
咁即係最緊要我哋係啱理念，咁我哋就會可以一齊同行咯。
好嗱，我哋呢個 session 差唔多完啦。丁丁你睇到咧有最後一個問題問你嘅，話 Hello 丁丁 ，What's your plan moving forward in the next 1 or 2 years in a world of new normal and a big shift in the future work life？ 其實係㗎，當好多人 work from home 嘅時候，其實佢哋想要多啲嘅送包定係少啲嘅送包咧？咁未來1-2年，你覺得你應該可以點樣繼續向前行咧？
Thank you, Ada。我諗嚟緊咧，經過呢大半年我哋嘅疫情嘅影響啦，咁其實越嚟越多嘅人都會注重健康，同埋係希望喺屋企煮啊，喺屋企食啊咁樣啦。咁我哋同時間都睇到就係 當佢哋即係長時間喺屋企煮嘅時候咧，其實都需要啲煮食嘅新主意嘅咁樣。咁所以譬如嚟緊咧，我哋都希望就係進一步將呢啲嘅婦女嘅主意啦，咁幫佢哋成立一啲微型品牌，一啲微產品咁樣。咁譬如都會增進一啲 product 嘅 variety 咯。咁希望都係喺唔同嘅 angle 用唔同嘅方法，都係協助翻即係我哋嘅顧客可以輕鬆自己煮咁樣咯。
我覺得自己煮都依然係有吸引嘅。因為始終出去餐廳食咧，其實我自己喺疫情中咧都係叫過幾次外賣，其實係都唔係好滿意嘅，因為其實可能係太鹹啊、汁太多啊咁。咁希望理想主義咧，第日即係可以出產到一啲嘅 products 咧，即係回應到唔同客戶嘅需要。譬如有客要話少鹽咁啊，你可以少鹽，應該得㗎嗬。咁咧就好啊！嗱，不如我喺呢度做一個總結啦。咁第一咧，好想多謝嘅咧就係丁丁、麗莊同埋 Trevor 先。咁啊，呢一組咧係我哋特別係睇到咧，係因為有兩個 mentors 係義不容辭咧咁加入啦，咁亦都係即係俾到好多好嘅意見俾丁丁咧，就回應咗佢一個最大嘅一個樽頸，就係點樣去 scale up，點樣去繼續去成長，令到佢嘅生意係越做越好咧咁。咁即係我自己係一路睇呢個社會創新同埋社會創業呢一個嘅成個大嘅一個叫 ecosystem 啦，一個自然生態環境裏邊咧，我發覺咧其實好似麗莊同埋 Trevor 咁樣嘅人咧，其實好少嘅。咁啊，所以咧其實係我諗你預咗㗎啦。今日你哋出咗鏡之後咧，可能第日會有更加多嘅唔同年紀嘅人可能嚟揾你哋咧，係攞 advice。因為我覺得創業咧，其實係會令到成個社會係進步得好快。如果我哋淨係個個人都係期待大公司去打份工嘅話咧，其實嗰種嘅 momentum， 嗰種進步嘅 momentum 咧，其實係唔會咁快。係因為創業咧，其實你而家係除咗要顧及自己嘅盈利嘅底線咧，亦都要顧及到成個社會嘅可持續發展啦，同埋社會企業有個最重要嘅咧，就係你都要有個社會影響嘅 social impact。就唔單止淨係睇盈利啦，如果係盈利能夠係同呢個社會嘅 impact 係同步嘅話咧，咁就叫雙社共贏，商業同社會共贏。咁呢個其實係好重要嘅概念嚟嘅。而喺我哋上半場咧，我特別係好想 highlight 一個亞洲嘅角度。特別係因為而家年輕朋友咧，佢哋會比較少諗亞洲嘅。泰國有冇機會咧？越南有冇機會咧？馬來西亞、新加坡有冇機會咧？如果我哋唔係太過係 stuck 喺一個地方咧，我哋係應該知道我哋自己嘅能力咧，其實可以係遊走於呢啲唔同嘅亞洲大城市咧，可能嗰個機會咧係會到嘅。我亦都睇到有好多創業嘅朋友咧，由香港成功啦，做咗第一 stage 咧，係有一啲嘅支持啦，或者有啲資金咧，佢就會去咗新加坡啦，係再將佢嗰個創意嘅概念就擺喺新加坡咧，或者擺去馬來西亞啦，擺去泰國啦咁，而係真係做到一啲嘅成績出嚟嘅。所以我哋唔應該咧，只係局限咗自己嘅思維咧，就喺香港發展咁。咁而阿 Andre 咧，佢係行咗一條同人都幾唔同嘅路，佢就好早就會覺得咧，亞洲先佢發展嘅一個成個大嘅環境。咁啊，丁丁我自己都希望你終有一日咧，如果理想主義係能夠即係唔單止香港咧係發揚光大啊！真係有一啲嘅機會咧，你應該去到亞洲其他城市繼續做落去嘅。好啦，咁啊呢個 session 咧就係到此為止啦。呢個 session 咧係 transformation。我好希望咧明年嘅社企民間高峰會咧都能夠 feature 一啲嘅年輕嘅社創朋友，令到大家真係聽多啲佢哋嘅故仔，佢哋嘅開心同埋佢哋嘅挑戰。好，今日好多謝各位參加者，好多謝丁丁，頭先亦都好多謝 Andre 同埋佢哋所有嘅 mentors。咁我而家交翻嘅時間咧係俾思怡。
Thanks for attending our thematic section. Please take a few minutes to fill out the feedback form and share with us your thoughts and recommendations. You may scan the QR code on the screen right now, or simply click the link in the Zoom chat box. International Symposium of Day 2 will be held at 11 a.m. tomorrow, and you may join your preferred track discussion on our portal. Thank you all very much for joining us today, and see you tomorrow.